Welcome, I'm Janel, Koloski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm a mentor to go with self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire.
I used to help my friend because my friends wouldn't be allowed to come out and play in Western Pennsylvania. You don't red up your room, you can't go out to play. I would go to my friend's house and I would actually help her clean her room. And then it was great. It looked beautiful. And I like to clean, but I've been saying that, because we're talking about the overconsumerism, I'll go Instagram scroll, and I love skincare and stuff, or even cleaning products, which is very funny. I feel like I don't have that much, but it's still too much. It's too much.
I only noticed that when I moved that I had too much stuff. And that's right. That's right. We don't realize because we get comfortable in our spaces. And then, it was such a eye-opening to how much I was. Like, I always had a thing with my mom. Like, my mom just held on to things so much. I'm like, Mom, do you really need like 3 pairs of this? Like, this looks the same. Like, these are running out of life. Like, these sneakers are running out of life. It's time to give them up. Or like, why are you holding on to clothes that you don't fit in? Either you're too small for it now, or it's outdated. And granted, I wish there's some clothes that she would have kept, because obviously the fashion is always coming back, of course. Yes. But those are the pieces that they should value there of quality. I think because I feared being like a hoarder. I think that's why I started becoming organized, because I feared of being a hoarder. That was like my biggest fear, because I seen like my grandparents and my grandma over hoard things, and I was like, I don't want that to be me. So I have to like start looking at it. So every season, especially spring and summer, I'm like, it's time to kind of do a spring purge. And it just helped me mentally going, okay, I'm ready for the new season. Also, I'm ready for what's coming. But it came out of fear. It wasn't something I wasn't like that as a kid. My mom would be like, fix your bed and, clean this up. I'm like, I gotta clean. I'm like, I hated it. And now I'm like, it's the opposite. And it could be a trained thought that maybe my mom did it so much, where it's like, you got to clean your bed before you leave the house and all that stuff. But now I value it, because when I come back home, my bed is fixed. I'm like, oh, I can just lay on my bed.
Your mind being cluttered. I don't have time to do this, but it saves you time in the future. I'd rather just invest in going on a trip and my house being maintained.
And it might just come with maturity and just understanding yourself more, because you and I have done such spiritual deep healing and work, and we're still doing it. We're still going through the trials and tribulations of life, because it's honestly, that is also a part of life. You're ever changing, you're ever evolving, you're ever experiencing things consciously, subconsciously. And so it's become exciting, but also this past week for both of us was a bit tough emotionally. I don't know what spiritually it was, or energetically what was happening in the cosmos, if anyone believes in that stuff, but energetically it was quite intense, and things that I don't even necessarily think about or try not to think about or have processed already were showing up. And I'm like, I'm really feeling dark and heavy, and I don't understand where it's coming from, and I'm doubting myself, I'm doubting life, I'm doubting, and I'm like, I became like a very fetal position. And I'm like, this isn't even me. I've never really done this before. I've faced myself. I've faced the shadows of my mistakes in my past, and even my present and future. But this was a whole nother level. This was like, I don't even know if these thoughts are actually mine, or they're just over exaggerations of things that I've been either not addressing or have just been kind of hidden.
It was weird. It was almost like a timeline jump, because I felt like it was like a different version of me. But could be kind of, there's just this shadow self. And I've worked through a lot, but it was like an extreme amplified version. And yeah, it was very odd. You go down this road and this is who you become, going to subconsciously sabotage who you're really meant to be in this other path you're meant to be on, because the time suck that it took in this like fetal position situation, all these hours kind of rumination on something or whatever, this state of being. Then the next day, I also had to fight the guilt. Look how you wasted this time. And so it wasn't just when I was having this darkness around me and these deep, weird thoughts or state of being. It was also the guilt.
Especially with like this mental health month, it's quite interesting that it happened right before this, because, you and I value mental health, which is why we started Mindset Artistry, like, because of COVID. I think I tend to forget that sometimes of how we started. And then I think I'm like, oh, it came from a necessity.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the things that work. And people, I've been asked, like, why are you still doing this if it's not giving you the things that you're like striving for? I'm like, because I love it. You don't understand the value that it not only gives me, but other people. And eventually it will reach the masses. And I know it will. And I have no doubt about that. But it came out of necessity. And I understand why it came out of necessity, because it came out of you and I being in COVID and feeling uncreative and feeling like how we talk about our mindset, because that wasn't something that was nurtured within my childhood. It wasn't nurtured. Everyone suppressed their emotions. Everyone was like, it's life, move on, And yeah, of course, it is life and we can move on. But can we talk about it first? Can we talk about it? Can we process it? Can we understand what this is? And then who am I in that process, right? Before, during, and after. And then not feeling, like you said, you felt guilty and shame in that moment of like, I lost a day, I lost hours. And same here, like I lost hours. I was like, I could have been more productive. I had some things to do for my social media marketing business and clients. And I was like, I didn't get to do that. And I felt guilty. And the next day I was like, I feel behind now. And, I was like, listen, you know what? I'm just going to take what I can in this moment and figure it out. Clearly it was something that needed to happen for me to like release whatever block.
What is this thing that I didn't clock before that I have to? And it was almost like definitely cycles I've seen in generations before me. Like what moment did that shift?
Yeah.
So if I now in the future, I notice start speaking to myself a certain way, I'm like, okay, we gotta put a cap on that. Maybe I need to like dance or put something down. I definitely need sleep.
Yeah.
You
need sleep all the time.
All the time. And just, because I was pushing myself to a limit where I needed to stop moving. And I think that's where things get messy, right?
Listen, I recognize I'm such an energetic person. And I pick on, it might just be because I loved forensic psychology. So I'm hyper aware of just people's behavior and things like that. And it's not necessarily people pleasing. It's me reading into the energies of people around me and then wanting to dissect it. I think for me, I always want to dissect like an emotion or like, why are they doing what they're doing and things like that. And that comes down to my immense interest in mental health as well as psychology and why I went to school for forensic psychology. But what I recognize is I was consuming other people's energy and replacing it with my own. And I didn't realize I was doing that. So I was consuming their thoughts and their emotions and their wherever they were in their life. And I started relating to it as if it was my own, and it wasn't. I'm not one to talk negatively about life and complain, because I used to complain at one point, and that's not something that I reckon that benefits us. Complaining is only going to allow you to complain even more. And yes, I'm not talking about venting. Venting is a very different form. Venting is releasing and you're talking about it as a matter of fact. You're talking about, well, I feel this and I feel that. Complaining is like, well, why me? And why this? And you're constantly playing victim. And I get it. Life can be difficult. Life can be hard. And things don't always work out the way we want them to. And about 99% of the time, they don't work out the way we expect them to. But eventually they do. And unfortunately, our life is on a different timeline. Like we have a timeline in our mind of how quickly we want things to work out. I want my career to be by next year or 2 years from now, by 25, I should do this, and this. I have a lot of friends, not including you, who like, I'm ready for marriage. I want kids. Like, why am I not dating? And I'm like, I'm very much in a different mindset. I'm like, I'm not rushing for that. I enjoy being single. And I think it kind of shocks people. And I'm like, why? I genuinely enjoy being single. It does not mean I don't love companionship, because I do. But I also get companionship from different areas in my life, my friends, my family. And whenever the partner comes, a partner comes, and just meeting people, but I'm not harping on it. And I think what happened was I started reversing that. I started like replacing that with other people. Like, well, maybe my time is running out and maybe I should be having kids. And I'm like, oh gosh. And it's like, no. Yes, those are things that are going to be a part of your life, but you don't need to harp on it so heavily, because it's going to happen when it happens. And that's something I had to really ask my question, like, is this really something that I want? Like, truly, do I want kids and I want to get married like right now, like in the next 2 years? Like, do I really want that? And I was like, no, I don't. And I'm okay with that. And then, like, constantly complaining, like, listen, life is always going to have its challenges. Life is always going to have its hiccups because we're not controlling other people. That's the point. Every person that we're interacting with, every person that we're meeting, every situation, we're also creating, right? If you think about that, we are creatives and we're creators and manifesting our reality, that we've manifested these challenges. Again, I'm not trying to blame you, but we've manifested this as an experience.
Mm-hmm.
So every person, everything that we've kind of witnessed, whether it has been our own experience or others, we, again, brought that into our reality to learn something. That means that we could also have the power to shift it. So how do we shift it? And lately it was, for me specifically, again, going back to energy. What energy am I tapping into? Is it the energy of lack, of scarcity? Is it the energy of imposter syndrome? Is it the energy of working hard all the time and like life is like a hustle and bustle and 24/7? Or is it the life of, that there's a balance? There is times where you have to definitely go hard and figure it out because no one's going to put the sweat and tears like you are. But there's also that balance in between of like, you planted the seed, now have ease, water it, step away. You know what I mean? So, and let the sun shine on it, that kind of stuff. So for me, it was like that energy shift. I was like, oh, this is not my energy. This energy that I've been living in the past couple of weeks is just like, I have to learn how to set that boundary energetically and every day set an intention with my my energy and my thoughts. And I wasn't doing that.
That's so powerful. Yeah. And you definitely have to do that. And I think everyone can benefit from that because you're so tuned in. I would say now that I'm thinking about it, it was like I was having this energy of rebellion. I needed to rebel. And so if I like reverse that, it's like, well, then what am I missing if I felt, because I knew what I needed to do, but I was so like, no, like a kid, like, I don't want to do it. It was so odd. And obviously that just tells me I need more rest and more time for things, other things. It's just putting too much pressure on myself because when you feel like you get to the point where you need to rebel, it's like, I'm not going to work and only have fun. The balance is important. Then you're not having enough fun. I always think of Mufasa. He's like, remember who you are. Like this, like, always. That should be my backdrop on my phone or something.
Love that.
Because then try being outside yourself or taking on other people's energies, that's the most dangerous thing. In breath work, my teachers always talk to me about, you're most grounded when you're in the present, 100% in your body. You're not in the past and future, but we're going to be walking around and things are going to happen and it's always going to make us feel some type of way, but just feel that in your body.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times we're living in a world unconsciously.
Yeah.
Where we're constantly just moving through the motions and not paying attention, like you said, and being present. And speaking of like, know who you are, girl, I got the Hakuna Matata on my foot. Because it's like, don't worry, be happy kind of thing. And it's like, I love the Lion King, by the way. I don't know why that came up for the both of us. But because it was just a reminder of like, life is always going to have something that that's unprepared for, something that kind of throws a wrench in the road, and we're like, or the car breaks down or whatever. You gotta like, all right, I'm present, I'm here. How can I handle this? And then you move forward. Which is why it's important to nurture and care for your mental health every single day. Or if you can't do it every day, you don't have the capacity to, that's okay too. Once a week, but make it a priority. Make it a priority because you're making yourself a priority. And it's like, I am my person now. I'm like, listen, I did the party hardy. 7 days a week, drank, party hardy. And now I'm like, I still like to party, but I don't like to party hardy. Okay. But I also value being chill and like having some dinner and hanging out and doing low key things, or meditating or doing a little vision board kind of thing. But then, we can go party hardy. But those in between moments, I need to reset. I need, because otherwise I won't be able to properly function in the world. So even if it's 5 minutes a day, I'm definitely like, all right, like you said, breath work, I'm breathing and meditating or listening to a specific music. We talked about this like during that past week. Dude, I needed to listen to music. I needed to go back to reading books to really just like clear out what the heck this energetic thing was happening in these emotions. Like, oh my gosh. All right, let's go back to reading books and like, just remember, nurture that intellectual part of your brain that needs, because clearly the imagination is going buck wild, right?
Investing in your mental health will bring the right people about. We were just talking to a guest about building community and collaborating and how we can all help each other instead of being on our own little islands. And then When you're investing in yourself, you're like this little lighthouse, right? You're fully aligned and you know who you are. And then you're just like, bing. And so then you'll attract the right people that will also be good for your mental health and you'll be good for theirs. And everybody has a down day. But I think the beauty of that is, I mean, for me, breathwork this past week, I don't know, what was I crying about? It was something I'm afraid if I invest in myself, because I'm so used to going 90% for people, I'll be alone. That's my function of living. That's the benefit that I have to others. You call me, I can always be there. Or like I like to help physically with my time or whatever. But then when it gets to the point that it's hurting you, it takes a lot of courage to invest in yourself and take care of your physical, mental, spiritual being. Is you might lose people for a period of time or maybe forever. So letting go of that, understanding. I've had people leave and come back in my life. And it wasn't like I was always, doing something crazy. It was just like they were meant to go on their own journey for a while. We both were. We did our thing. We came back better. And it's cool when you do the work. We're talking about controlling our environment or controlling our other people or what's happening. That's the only way you can control it. Just focus on you. And I've seen change in other people around me because I just was like, hug myself, invest here, work on my mental health, and somehow, energetically, then whatever got resolved.
Yeah, definitely working on yourself. It also, if it forces people to show their true cards and to show their true self and what their intention is with you and how either dependent or how succubus they are of you and or how much they care about you truly. And because when you pull back, eventually it's either they're gonna miss your energy because you were feeding them in some way to boost them, or they're going to be like, wow, I wonder how they're doing. Like, I haven't heard from them. And then you genuinely go, oh, I care about them. I miss them. I want to know what's going on in their life. Why haven't they, let me check on them and see how they're doing. And then you realize, oh, those are the people. Those are my people. Those are my people. And that's fine. We're constantly surrounded by people who don't necessarily know that they're feeding off of your energy. You don't know, because you're making them feel better. And then that's necessarily a bad thing as life coaches. That's a part of what we do truly is you're not feeding off our energy, but we're feeding you energy that's going to help boost you. Right. We're talking from personal experience, we're talking from studies and things like that, and from other clients and our practices. But it is valuable to understand that and understand how you got to be aware of pulling back sometimes in order to just nurture yourself, fill up your own cup before you can, like I say, like the airplane, put on your mask before putting on somebody else's. Like that is, it's real. It really is real. And sometimes for me, I think what I had struggled with for a long time was, I never thought that I can do anything on my own, meaning businesses or just career having on my own. And I had to process that for a really long time. It's like, because every time I felt like I put myself out there, I was never quite seen the way I should have been or the way I see myself. I was always judged or this, and I had to let go of that. Like, oh, I don't want to put this energy in there because I don't want to showcase people my truth, who I am, because they're going to either try to tear me down or they're not going to understand, because I wasn't confident in who I was at that moment.
Right.
Which is why I didn't put myself out there, because I was afraid of the judgment. I was afraid of it. And I was dependent on the likes, right? I was like, I don't care. But I was dependent on the likes. Like, oh, are they going to like my picture or not? Or you're going to like my stuff. And I had to process that. That was something really, really big because of just my childhood. I never really felt accepted as I am until I found my group of friends who are still my friends to this day, but there was in the real world, I didn't feel completely accepted as I am. There was always like, oh, you seem this way, you seem that way. I'm like, I'm not. That's also because I didn't know who I was. Truly. I was just kind of going through the motions and also playing a role. I was playing a role in other people's life that I think that they needed or expected of me. And when I finally dismantled that, then I was able to have autonomy over myself and over my choices and going, all right. And now I can really say fuck it. If they don't like my picture, they don't like my reel, I'm still going to fucking put it out there anyway. Because you know what? Someone out there is going to value it. And I was just saying, the more cringe it is to you, it's probably more powerful to somebody else who needs to see that. I posted a Instagram of me actually crying. And I honestly did not think twice about it. I was like, oh, I'm having a moment of crying. And it wasn't a sadness. It was just an emotional release. And I was like, I just want to share that with somebody because I remember a time when I was afraid of crying. I was truly afraid of crying, and I held in my emotions. And I was like, I want people to know that it's okay to cry. It is a spiritual release. It is a physical release. It is necessary for our body process. Now, some people don't necessarily cry, but they want to like throw tantrums, or, not even throw tantrums, but just like, there's different forms of it. And I get that, and that's fine. But for me, it was like crying, because every time I would meditate, I'm like, why am I crying during a meditation? And I'm like, huh. But like, I value it now. I'm like, oh, if I'm not crying, something's wrong, right? I'm like, what? I should have a tear of either happiness or sadness or something. Like, I got, where my tears at? Like, my tear duct dried? Hold on. But for me, yeah, it was something I valued. And now I'm like, I'm not afraid of putting myself out there anymore. And if it's received, then it's received. And if it's not, it's okay too. It's fine, because I know that my story matters. Like I tell everyone, like, my story matters, and it mattered to me, and it will matter to somebody out there. Somebody needed to hear it. But you know why? Because I needed to hear it. And that's what I always go back to. Is like, if I need to hear this, then somebody else needs to hear this too. Because it's not only for me, which is why I was like, all right, I got to tell Janel, this past week was like really rough for tougher. It was a really rough.
Yeah.
And then you were like, yeah, girl, me too. And I was like,
I
what?
was like, what? Yeah, it was, yeah. I'm actually making a video about my brother who has autism and how he leans fully into his authenticity because that's just who he is and he doesn't care.
Love on the Spectrum, by the way.
Oh, I know.
Everyone should watch it.
They should watch it.
Everyone should watch it, just for the simple fact that this is how we should be moving through life. Say it with your full chest.
The whole thing. Well, I'll post it eventually. It was in response to certain comments in the media recently, and a lot of people reaching out to me like, "What do you have to say about this?" And like, I need some time with this. But essentially, he's my role model because it's so wild being this person out in the world. This tall blonde with symmetrical features, and I'm modeling full time and acting full time and da 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 da. But I get my strength from my brother because he's always who he is, and he's just fearless. Like, he'll talk about what he's afraid of. But anytime I'm like, I can't do something or people will judge me, I think of him. That's where I am today. I gotta think of how he interacts with the world. So I'm so grateful because he's just who he is.
Yeah.
But, so I love that you're talking about that, empowering yourself, which is how you see yourself and connecting with the right people, mental health. Everybody's got something going on. My mom was talking about that yesterday, and I believe in accountability. I believe really if you love people, you need to pay attention to how you have whatever's going on have an impact on others. But also know, like, you're the only ones really going to understand what's going on inside you. So you're going to do your best. You're human. You're going to make mistakes. Some days you're tired. Some days are better than others. But seeking safety outside of yourself, when you have this thing going on inside of you, like for anxiety, you're not in the moment at all. Like, even if something is happening, it's taking you somewhere maybe in your past. Something is triggering you.
Yeah.
And you're out of body now. If people don't struggle with extreme anxiety, they're not going to understand that. Stop trying to talk to them, explain what's going on. Stop it. You give yourself the validation. There's a reason that you're that way. And yes, you need to, figure it out, talk to a therapist or find your tools.
Seriously, it's a chemical reaction.
Talk to yourself and ask yourself what's going on. Usually something with my childhood happened that I never resolved, activating me now that I'm living in the past, afraid of the future. But I'm just like talking to her. I'm like, why does that bother you? Oh, you felt like you weren't heard. So you have to scream because as a child, you weren't given certain things that you needed to figure out a lot on your own sometimes.
Yeah.
Something present day reminds you of that subconsciously. You're going to freak out, but you're an adult. Have a little conference with the parts work. Amanda, we have talked about this, parts.
Yes.
As coaches,
we talk about, yes.
Yeah, the parts talking to each other, mental health, like, don't feel shame around it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, girl, speak the truth, because, mental health growing up, it wasn't addressed. Like, our parents, like, they were going through a lot of mental health issues, and, it just wasn't properly addressed in a way that was caring or nurturing or even just a sense of awareness. It was more of like, you can see something's wrong and they're smiling through their pain, but there is so much pain and anxiety and stress and whatever it is weighing on them. And, it just makes me think of like, they're just certain, sometimes, unfortunately, like I think of my uncle who unfortunately passed away because of alcoholism. But I know for a fact that there was something unresolved. There was some trauma. I know for a fact. And I saw it in his eyes. I mean, I saw it and I so wanted to help him. But he was so far gone at that point that it was his choice to go, I am done. Like, I even remember him being in the hospital bed And like he was like ready for a drink, but he was yellow as that pillow behind you, you know, he was yellow. And he was like, I want my drink. I just want to get out of here and have a drink. I'm like, Jesus, like, you know, you're dying, right? But it was a mental illness that he was struggling with that just unfortunately was never addressed and maybe just brushed under the rug. And you know, I fear for that because I was like, I see it tear people apart, and then it turns into ailments that you don't even know, like why am I sick all of a sudden, or why is this happening? And then it deteriorates the body and the mind. But you know, I value it so much now, especially after the film I did. I think the film that I did, The Rest of Us, that was the catalyst, along with like, you know, my brother passing, but that was the big catalyst of like actually doing a film about mental health and people committing, ending their lives, and having happened like around 9/11 and this whole story of NYU. And after doing that, I was like, oh, mental health is really important. I got to start addressing this within myself. And I remember that's how I started doing like lives and talking to people about mental health and really just being curious. And I think people not be curious, like tap into that younger self who was like exploring the world and like being curious. Be curious about your mental health. Be curious, learn. Don't take everything for what they say. Don't take the labels as out. Well, that's me. That's me, and I'm gonna define. No, you know, do your research and talk to people. Go to professionals. You know. But when I started doing that journey, I've really understood the value of addressing mental illness and mental health, and you know, it has shifted my life, and I have a lot more empathy for people. I have a lot more empathy for myself. I have a lot more empathy for the world. And it has allowed me to connect a lot better to just my environment and also be present and not necessarily forgive myself, forgive others, but also recognize what people are and not taking it personal. Like that was like a lot. That was a big thing too. It's like, oh, you're going through something right now. And you know what? You may be screaming at me for some reason or whatever it is, or you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna take it personal because I can see that you're going through something. It was that sense of awareness. So it gave me a sense of empowerment when I was understanding, and it makes me think of like Kristen Bell talks about mental health a lot and how she was like, you know, she doesn't condone medication, but she is on medication because her mom was you know, a doctor. I think it's a psychiatrist. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. And you know, she was like, you know, not everybody needs medication, but for her, she needed it. And she was very open and honest about it. And so I think it's that open honesty about the conversation. I'm circling back to why Mindset Artistry, why we started Mindset Artistry, because it came out of necessity. And I think this whole episode is really, you know, circling to the fact that why we did Mindset Artistry is because we needed it. It came from a necessity. It came from exploring ourselves. And we also recognize the universal understanding and the universal story and struggles that we were going through that someone else was probably going through too. And the fact that we were processing and the fact that we were aware of it, the fact that we've healed from it, someone else probably needs this device too. Someone else is probably going through this right now. And we've already surpassed this level. Let's help them out. Let's let them know that they're not alone. Let's help them know that they have a community. Let's help them know that they are valuable, they are important, you know, and that we stand by that to this day. And then there's also things of like, get your shit together. Get that
Right.
career
It's
mindset. Get
about
that career
it's
together.
a
You are the
balance.
CEO, right? You are the CEO, ma'am and sir. Like you are. Like no one's gonna do it for you. So get it together. And you're like, yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it's scary. But the most wonderful things in life are a bit scary because you're getting out of your comfort zone. You're trying something new, and there are going to be mistakes. There are going to be moments where you feel like you failed. Only don't define yourself by that failure. Use it as a catalyst. Use it as fuel to keep going.
Yeah. And the empowering component of taking control of your own life and finding this balance as a person that can be quite extreme. Even Andrew always jokes with me because he'd be like, stretch your arm like this way. And I'd be like, bam. And he's like, no, no, no. Because for me, it was just always get it done, like accomplish the task. Like, find the tools that work for you. It could be breathwork, could be journaling, a million gazillion things. But congratulate yourself for first having the awareness. If you keep hearing something about yourself from different groups of people, it could be family, friends, people at work, it might be something that you need to look at. And like, you know, Amanda's saying, you go find some professional, but you always have control over your life and over you. So sit with it and be honest. This is hard as coaches. We empower you to do this. Maybe this is something, a mental health thing I need to look at because I do want to keep people in my life. But then also, you need to have people in your life who hold you accountable and be like, hey, I need you to handle this. And I can't always be around this, you know, but They're not going to constantly shame you and make that your identity. That's the most annoying thing because you're trying so hard to work through your mental health and be the best human you can be. And if you have too many people that are just focusing on that part of you, maybe that's what they need you to be in their life, which is kind of like, and then you're just kind of like, okay, I have all this other wonderful stuff going on too. So find the people that will hold you accountable, but will also celebrate who you are as a whole, as a human. Amanda, what do you think is the best way to?
I was just thinking as you were saying that, like, I love to surround myself, and I'm grateful for it, around women and people who don't yes me all the time. I don't want to be yesed all the time. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, no. Call me the fuck out when I do something wrong. Or call me out if you took that offensive. Like, call me out. I'm okay with that because I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know where you're coming from. At the same time, I also value my friends valuing how I am.
Yeah.
And how I react to certain things, and how there's certain things in my life that I don't value, or there's certain things in like what your values are not my values, and what you find important is not important to me, and that's okay. There's this understanding, and I wouldn't say I was very lucky, very very lucky to have friends in high school that are still my friends to this day. Catherine and Miriam and now you, and even like, I mean, we've been friends for quite a while now, and Tokyo. And I'm grateful because we've found each other in a space where we were already, and then we allowed each other the space to be. And it's not always easy because in a world where women are constantly pitted against each other, we've had this conversation on the podcast episode before about your community, but for me is take a not judgment, but take it with a grain of salt. Like, don't like see people where they are. Don't, not where you want them to be or where you expect them to be. And that made a big difference. And I was able to see people as they are versus how I wanted them to be and how I wanted them to serve me. And as I did that, I was able to walk through the world a lot more aware of building a community, because I knew who I was and what I valued. And I didn't take it personal if someone didn't value that either. And I just like acknowledged them. So for me, you asked like, how do you go about building a community? Is you got to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Got to put yourself out there. You just have to. And yes, be guarded, a bit, but that comes down to boundaries, not guarded, but boundaries. Have boundaries with people, recognize if what people do rather than what they say. Because people will show you by actions, not by words, most of the time. So if it's contradictory, pay attention. You don't have to take it personal because, again, you don't know what other people are living in their life. Like I said, you and I, we had a whole moment last week and we didn't talk to each other. I didn't text you right back right away. So it was like, neither of us took it personal. We just knew that we were going to show up for each other when we needed to at that moment because we had like, a couple of meetings. I was like, oh, okay, I got to be there for that. And I was like, all right, I'm there. It was the idea of like, I'm just going to let her be because clearly something's happening because I know Amanda enough or I know Janel enough to know if she didn't respond to me within 24 hours or that day of, something's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if I feel really concerned, then I'm going to definitely reach out. Hey, girl, how you doing? Everything all right? Cool. All right. All right. Check in. Is get out there, find a community. What do you value in community? Do you value women groups? Find a women local group that you can reach out to. Find a community on Facebook. I'm a little weary about Facebook and groups because it's so very far removed sometimes because we have a screen of protection. But not necessarily a bad thing either, because then it gives some people a safe space to express themselves without feeling judged because it's just letters. It's black and white on the screen, And then you have you and I, like Janelle and myself. I don't know how many times we can drill into your heads, y'all. But we're here. We are constantly offering opportunities to work with us. And I get it, finances can be a bit struggling, or maybe you're too afraid to admit what's going on in your life. That's okay. This is a judgment-free zone. This whole conversation should have shown you how judgment-free it really is. We bared a little bit of our souls in this conversation,
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's okay. But you have you and I, and find books and join a book club. Find something you value in your life, and I'm pretty sure someone out there has a club about it.
Oh yeah, there's
running clubs, you got yoga, you've got book clubs, you've got poetry, you've got like painting clubs. Like there are everything you could think of. There's a community out there somewhere, and if not, start it. I'm pretty sure if you start it, Maybe one person's going to sign up this one time. That's okay. You commit 100,000% to that one person. And then another person's going to say, oh, well, I saw this and I saw that. There's a community of spiritual people who don't drink, but love to party. They like to party hard. So they are daytime DJs that do spiritual work, but they're like techno music. And I'm like, I'm all here for that. Like, yes, you can dance at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 to 5, 2 to 6. Great. And I mean, like, party hard. And everyone's like, yeah, good. There's a community out there. So again, find your community, find your, again, confirmations here. I just always think these things are confirmations. In my head, I'm like, confirmation, little thing. Set your boundaries. Figure out, where your community are. Talk to a friend, because you just, honestly, sometimes this whole conversation happened for Mindset Artistry because we just feel like, hey, hi, how are you? What's going on? I'm struggling. There you go. Thumbs up. I'm struggling here. What are you doing? And you'd be surprised how open people are. You'd be surprised how open people are when you are too a bit. And again, of course, set your boundaries. And when you're open, you got to also trust and accept the fact that not everybody's going to receive what you're saying the way you expect them to. People love differently. People experience things differently. People have different opinions and emotions and triggers and activations. So if you're going to say something, honor yourself by saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Honor yourself. If you're saying, I'm having a troubling time and I'm just talking it out right now, it's okay. I'm just honoring myself. You don't have to necessarily receive it or give the best advice. I just needed to let it out to someone, and thank you. And not everybody also has a capacity to take on what you're saying too. So be aware of that as well.
And they say about boundaries, people might not like them, but if you really uphold them, people will respect it. And we all communicate differently. What works for one person might not work for another. And boundaries don't have to be negative. Being really honest about where you're at. And the right people will receive that. Maybe other people, it'll make them mad for whatever reason with what's going on in them. Mm-hmm. And they will resolve that and take it in, or maybe they'll be gone forever, and that's great. I think it's for a lot of my friends because we're all everywhere. You just want to keep hanging out, but all of our lives are so crazy. And I used to get bummed about that, but then I had to sit with myself like, Janel, what's your life like? You're always in 2 different states, literally every week. So these are the types of friendships you have. You're not going to have a friendship where you see the person multiple days in a week like you did when you were a kid. So just recognizing the phase of life you're in and not trying to compare your life to someone else's that has a different schedule.
I've gotten more mature or just experienced life. You just recognize that you got to pay attention to the situation that you were when you were like 16 to 23, if you were in college, if you went to college, or you went to high school. The environment was nurtured for you to see them every day. The environment was you were in their space and seeing them all the time, lunch, after school, college, you ran past each other in classes. Like these were harnessed, these were environments that you were going to see them. And then life happened. And everybody had to make decisions based on how they were going to live their lives and expectations and roles that they had to play. And that's hard when you're like stuck in 22 years of your life, or actually 20, because depending on when you went to start school. That's an adjustment. I don't think that's talked about. That's a major adjustment of like, we got to make time now. Oh, I got to make time for you. Okay, how do I do that? Like, when do I find that? Oh, I got to call you and we have to have conversations, or if that, whatever it is, let's meet up. Because back then it was just like, hey, you want to go grab lunch? Great, girl. We see each other in the halls and like move on, whatever. But now it requires effort. It requires care and value. I appreciate you saying that too, because I have my best friend, and I moved across the country, across the state, and I don't see her all the time. And honestly, we don't talk as often as we want to. But I make time, and I be telling her all the time, girl, I'm so sorry, I didn't call you, I didn't text you. Like, let's plan like a virtual movie date, and we'll eat popcorn or whatever. And then I also have a friend who I literally, Catherine. Catherine is the phantom of the opera of friends, but we never not value each other. We always show up for each other. And I may not speak to her for 6-7 months. I know she's doing her thing. We speak through like memes on social media and stuff. And I know she's alive, and a quick text here and there. And then we'll randomly call each other, and we'll be on the phone for 2 hours. And we're having the most intellectual conversations. We're sharing what's been happening in our lives. We're talking about spirit. We're talking about all these amazing things. I'm like, okay, girl, all right, yeah, that was great, cool, love you, we'll talk to you in a little bit. And then I may not hear from her for weeks. I mean, I see her or whatever, and it's okay, because I value the moment that we had. And I know it's nothing personal against me. She has her life, she has a family, she has businesses she's taking care of, and so do I. We have different goals, we have different aspirations, and I respect that. So you have to respect people where they are. You have to respect their values. You have to respect their goals, even if you don't understand it. You know, Catherine and I are not in the same field, but she respects that I am an actor. She respects that I do the things that I do, and I respect what she's doing as well. And that's that. I respect it. I may not understand it, but I respect it. And I honor that. So for you too, when you find a community, is honor each other. Honor them where they are. Now, of course, we have expectations and visions of where our friends, where we want them to be. Of course, we all do. People, our partners, like, well, I know I have hopes for you. Yeah. But also recognize where they are, you know, and accept them. And then it's up to you how you react. You know what I mean? And so I'm very grateful to have people that I have in my life, which is why I feel so passionate about being a life coach. Because I know a lot of women, even men, who just struggle with finding community. I'm like, you don't have to struggle anymore. You've got one right here, because everyone a part of our community is there. They feel the same way you do. We as human beings are supposed to collaborate. We're supposed to be surrounded by people. Granted, you know, I love being alone too.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a value in community. There's value in collaborations. How do you know life if you haven't lived it? You don't. You just got to get out there and do it. I know it's scary, and maybe you don't have the finances, but there's something out there that maybe it's a grant or funding or just some free event that you can host at someone's house. And like, there's little things that we can do to have a sense of community and connect. So many different things, so many free things. So just go out there and find what lights you up and get going, and you know, and take it with a grain of salt, and always remember to nurture your self-love, your self-power, your self-care, and be kind to yourself throughout this whole process, because it can get mucky, it can get ugly, it can get dark, it can get nasty, like all the things upsetting and all of that. But love yourself through it. Love yourself through it, truly.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
We'll see you next time.